Hi, this is the last video in my batch content that I'm recording today, and I thought I would show you guys a something hits the fan shebang camp. This is something that I set up in about 10 minutes time, and it might even be a little bit less. It's out in the middle of the woods, and honestly, if I was trying to escape from home, this might be one of the first places I go to. So this will give you a good example of a camp setup with historical gear that would have been available to the early campcraft riders. Now there's certainly some differences than what like Nesmith would take versus Kephart would take, what Kays would take, what Rogers would take, what Dan Beard would take, etc., etc., etc. Because all those guys, through their experiences, kind of design their own kits, okay? So this is a mixture, and honestly quite a bit of it would be surplus military gear, but you can buy surplus military gear cheap. So if you're trying to put together something hits the fan kit, then military surplus is a good place to go anyways. So this is my shebang camp. Now notice that has a modern hammock. Now modern hammock, historic hammock, nice thing is they're lightweight, you can bundle them up. Sleep is one of the most overlooked parts of camp life. I think people generally take it for granted that, hey, especially if you're new camping, trying to cut costs or whatever, I'm going to go out, I'm going to sleep on the ground, and this is going to be so much fun. If you don't sleep well, then lots of things are going to go wrong. Sleeping needs to be one of your priorities when you're trying to organize your kit. Beyond first aid, beyond water, and all this other stuff that are your priorities, you know, sleeping needs to be one of your priorities. You need to stay dry. You want to make sure you have a good night's sleep. You want to make sure that you are safe from animals or mosquitoes or other critters, right? And something that's going to be easily moved. If something hits the fan and it's a go bag, you want it to be easily moved. It needs to be lightweight. There were historic hammocks. Now they were certainly heavier than the material that I have here. And even the balloon silk, which was basically Egyptian cotton, would have stretched significantly. Our modern materials today are much superior when you take into consideration historic materials. So this may have been an extreme luxury. I don't know if anybody would have really taken it as far as the campcraft riders. Nobody really explains it in any of the campcraft books I've ever written, so I assume not. Now, the Native Americans, they had various different forms of beds, even like twig spring beds. I'm not talking about, you know, branches from evergreens. I mean like literally twig spring beds. Pretty neat. Even as for some period of time, they were sold commercially. It's pretty cool. So there's various ways of making lightweight beds and carrying them along with you. The hammock, I just don't think would have been the most common. But that's what I have here because I was in a hurry trying to get this video, and it was raining, now it's sunny. So it's a beautiful time to take you around and show you my little camp. I hope you like it. Let's go! Now the first thing you may notice is this tent, the overhang. Now having some type of canvas, some type of material that you can stretch over your bed, whatever it is, maybe it's a tent, maybe it's tarp, something like that, that's going to be important. This is a 1910 shelter half system. So there's two shelter halves that are buttoned together. There's some nice versatility with that, but there's also some issues with it as well. This is what I had, and it would work out fairly well. It's unlikely, as long as it was stretched out taut, that it would leak water in any of these seams. It would certainly leak here as it is, but where my actual bed is, as long as it was taut, I don't think there'd be a problem with it leaking. I may have to try that sometime and give you some more feedback about it. But this type of system gives you plenty of shade for the hot days, and you know, even in the forest, it's pretty nice because it keeps down more of the heat as well. It's pretty cool outside of this, but it's about 5 degrees cooler under here. The campcraft riders would also argue that you would want to have your natural tones, browns and tans and greens. That's pretty good for a to-go bag situation when you think about it. When you don't want to be seen, having something like this isn't going to stand out like, well, my hammock here, right? So this has a ridge line system here. You could use a ridge pole. Ridge pole would make it a little bit more taut, but for the quick deploy, that's what this is. And I'm going to show you how I strung this up, and maybe you'll learn something new. along the way. These are some neat tricks that I picked up from various other YouTubers and camp crafters. So I'd love to pass it on to you. One of the most useful things I ever learned from camp craft writers and from YouTubers is the toggle system. Because the toggle system allows you to break down camp so much easier. And it's really simple, especially once you have a loop that's to your eyelets or something like that, whatever your tent is. All you do is you tie a bowline on one end, you loop it through, and you got a toggle. Now to break it apart, all I have to do is just pull this, slide this out. Just like so. Now to get it back, all I have to do is put the piece of wood. This is just one that I grabbed from the ground. It's nothing special. And kind of cantilever it back into it. And do a twist. There it is. It's all there. Now I did that all around camp. Another thing I did was I decided I wanted some place to hang up my gear. And you'll see two options around my camp. The first one is this. All I did was find a stick with a V in it or a notch. I flattened the backside. I just took my knife and tried to flatten it. That way it's not teetering one way or the other. That flatness helps it sit against the tree really well. And then I cut two different notches in it. One at the top, one at the bottom. And then I tied my string around it. And that is enough to hold this bag easily. And plenty more weight as well. There you'll see another use of the toggle. As we take a closer look, you'll see that I use the trees around the area to support my tent. You'll see a toggle there, a toggle there, a toggle there. If you've liked this video, found it useful or entertaining, please click like. That way other people find it, you'll be helping them out as well. We really appreciate it. Now, if I was going to stay the night here, what I would actually do is unbutton this back side, because this is the bell on the back side of the tent, and I'd actually stretch out these points just a little bit farther, again to make them more taut. And if it did rain or there's some issues, it would give it somewhere to pour out. As of right now, this is acting like a giant bucket if it would rain. Now, of course, you could tweak this a little bit here and there. You can tie it up a little bit differently to make sure that these points draw out the water away from you, away from the area. But since this is just for the afternoon, just looking for a place to keep me dry in case it started raining again, and just give me a little extra shade, this works out quite well as a temporary camp. Now, this rope system is actually the Scout guard rope that I did a video of before. At the very end of this video, I'll put a link to that. That way you can watch it. The Scout guard rope was used from the Scouts from the early 1900s all the way into the 1940s. It was sold, and it's pretty handy as far as its uses. Because it has an eyelet at one end and it has this hook at the other, you can manipulate it in a lot of different ways. What I decided to do, since I had plenty of rope to run from my tent to this tree to keep my tent taut, and then I could double up this hook to hold up my gear. And it's worked out quite well. Now I can get into my stuff. I don't have to worry about it being on the ground. I could put the flap over in case it starts raining. So this is a really nice system of setting up your stuff off the ground, away from moisture, away from bugs, away from critters and things like that. And it's just a lot easier to get into it. All right, my friends, that is the video about my shebang, my crib, if you will, out in the woods. Now, I hope you like this video. If you do, please click like. That way other people find it. You'll be helping them out. We really appreciate it. If you are interested in helping me out, I'd really appreciate it if you wouldn't mind going to my website, www.onwildfitters.com. On there, you will find three things on the front page. First of all, it's my cookbook, because that's what this video is sponsored by. It's sponsored by my cookbook. That way we can keep moving things forward and move other projects along as well. It costs $25, but it's a digital copy, which means that you get to carry it on your phone all the time. The money stays here into this program that we're trying to do and our future endeavors. We really appreciate it. It has 97 wonderful historic campcraft writers recipes that was compiled by me and included field tested by me and my family, and it's delicious. I promise you'll like every single one of them. Well, I guess I can't promise that, but I really enjoyed them along with my family. I think you will enjoy most of them as well. Best part is because they are field tested by me, but they're also field tested by the campcraft riders. You know that you can do it easily out in a campcraft setting. The instructions are on there on my website. The second thing I'd like your help with, if you wouldn't mind, is I'm trying to put together a brain trust, a brain team, a team of people who would help me, give me feedback on upcoming projects, specifically ones of bringing to life old campcraft artifacts so that they can be used again by the next generation. Please go on the website. Again, it's www.honorableoutfitters.com. There will be a Google Forms link. You'll send me an email. That's it. And as the surveys and as information comes along through this process, you will get direct involvement. You will get to tell me if this is good, if this is bad, what you think about it. There's also a newsletter. If you're interested in getting a newsletter with historical articles, and of course you'll get updates, you just won't be able to participate in the brain trust, if you will, but you'll get updates about the project as well. Lastly, I want to thank my patrons on Patreon, because without them and their support, this channel would not be where it's at today. I appreciate everything that my patrons have done for all of us who are enjoying this channel. So thank you. And there's benefits to that as well if you want to check that out. If you would like to learn more about the 1910 shelter half system, then check this out here. If you'd like to learn more about my Trapper Nelson, if you'd like to learn more about the Trapper Nelson pack, then check this out here. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Give a kiss out to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.